Titan Fitness has gone from like a billion releases a year that are like half done to just a few that are really well done. This past year was evident of that with Squat Max MD, twist lock collars, and their Titan Series bench. This year, I think, is an extension of that. This is the Titan leg extension leg curl Selectorized. It is a beefy boy, and today we're gonna review it, compare it to some of my favorites that are on the market, as well as some of the budget ones, and tell you whether this is an older Titan release with all the problems of V1s, or if they finally fixed the issues of their early releases. Let's get into it. Hey guys, this is Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. Today, we are back in the garage to review this guy. We've reviewed their plate-loaded version many years ago. It's been on the market for a long time. Titan has a few selectorized options, but most of their stuff is plate-loaded. Something like this, though, requires a lot more complexity than they typically come out with. There's just a lot more moving parts, a lot more pulleys, a lot more things that you have to get right. And if you don't get right, it's like, wow, it's very obvious.
That's not right.
I want to walk through all of the design decisions they made, also some of the in-use experience, how it feels to some really low-end options as well as really high-end options. If you want more leg extension, leg curl, or machine reviews, let me know in the comments, or just give me a like on this video because that lets me know that you like this sort of stuff. And if it's your first time here, make sure you subscribe because we have other videos on other companies I can't speak about that are working on very similar units that are coming out soon. Okay, let's start with the overall dimensions. For a leg extension leg curl, in comparison to a plate-loaded unit, this one is a little bit bigger. It's not a huge unit, but this is designed to do two things. It's designed to go from leg extensions to seated leg curls very quickly. But one thing I want to say on the size, when you look at it just standing here, it's like, wow, it's actually pretty big.
That is huge.
But then when you compare it to plate-loaded options, which are often smaller, you don't have to factor in the fact that you have to have room for your body and a plate to get around it to put the plate on. So one of the benefits of Selectorized is the size that you see is the size it takes up, except for any of the moving parts like the leg extension or leg curl ankle roller. Other than that, it's honestly a pretty compact machine. There's more compact machines that are on the market, but I think for a lot of people that are looking for leg training specific machines, they're often going with a leg extension, leg curl, or a hack squat leg press combo. You can decide which one is most popular or most beneficial to you, but after having a leg extension and a leg curl, both in separate units that I'm now downsizing into a single combo unit, man, they're really nice to have. I love being able to do leg curls and leg extensions. And honestly, from an evidence-based training approach, the seated leg curl is superior to a prone or lying leg curl. So when comparing this to many options on the market that this would fold down into a prone leg curl, this is actually superior in some ways. Now, one of the first things you see is Titan now has a very evident design language. There's a specific design and way they're building things that implements and goes with the rest of their equipment. If you take a look at this, with the Titan Series bench next to it, you can see like it just fits in really nice. So if you're somebody that wants to build out, like the aesthetics matter to you, but you're still on a budget, honestly, this aesthetic, I really like. The black powder coat that's textured with the basically stainless or silver, along with the anodized red, I just think looks really good. And the other benefit to it is not having a crazy color scheme means that if you go with other companies, most other companies are using a similar color scheme as that. Like, look right next to me as I think about it. The Fringe Sport Dane Rack 2.0, same color scheme. So it's pretty cool. It could all kind of implement together. But the design language includes like beefy tubes. Like this is not a 2x2 tube or 3x3. Like this thing is big, probably a 4x2 is what they're looking at here. Squared off edges, fully textured powder coat, everything laser cut except for the stickers on the weight stack. These in here are really thick pulleys. Like these are expensive pulleys. All of the things that you would adjust are red anodized with the Shield logo laser engraved or laser etched on the outer pin. Also, the machine itself is pretty heavy duty. So it's over 500 pounds for the machine total. The stack itself is 250 pounds. It starts at 10 pounds, which this is something that's minor, but anybody that uses the 10 pounds on any stack, it does have a little nice section on the head plate so you can put the pin. I love when they add that. Why companies don't add that at the beginning, I don't know, but it is nice that they have that. When you're not using it, you can just place it there. It is on a 1-to-1 ratio, which means you get all of the 250-pound stack. One of the problems with many machines that are on the market is they're using a 250 or 300-pound stack, but they're doing it on a 2-to-1 ratio. So you're getting half that, whereas for leg extensions, like there's a lot of people that are really gonna need that 250. In fact, just to show you, 250 isn't like impossible to do. So that's the full stack. I'll tell you in a little bit about like what I think about that weight. You can also add extra weight with a plate. Potentially there is a shield here, but I think for a lot of people, 250 is gonna be fine. I'll talk a little bit about what I think about it here in a moment. Now, the materials overall, they're actually surprisingly, for what I expected, higher quality. Everything that you see that's movable is using like high-end bushings. An example, the leg roller or the ankle roller, it's using a very high-end bushing, very smooth. This is a really important part. The higher-end machines, which is what I prefer, has an ankle roller that adjusts up and down. The cheaper machines can sometimes have that too, but it just doesn't work well. It's really clanky. There's very loose tolerances. It's very annoying. So although I prefer an adjustment mechanism that goes up and down so you can really dial it in, this is actually okay because they're trying to meet a price point, yet do it in a way that is well done. And this piece is very important because if this isn't dead straight, you're basically having one leg that's further out than the other. It's not getting as much stretch as the other. I want my legs to be equally optimized for my teardrops. You do too. So you want this to be dead straight, and it is, and I think it'll stay that way. One, because they're using a really nice bushing. It's just like there's very little play here. Like the play is up here, it's not down here, which is very nice. This tube is oversized, so this thing should stay dead straight for a long time, which is very important. Then the vinyl they're using. So they found Reps manufacturer, which seems like a lot of companies have found Reps manufacturer for the vinyl. They all call it different names. It's all pretty much the same thing. It's a grippy vinyl. It's using a grippy vinyl on the seat pad, the back pad, the thigh pad, and the ankle roller. Personally, I don't actually like that. I really like this vinyl. It's one of my favorites out there. But the problem is this is great on a bench where you're trying to pull your scaps in. It's not as great on a thigh pad when you have shorts, or on an ankle roller when you have shorts and you're as hairy as a bear like me. So one thing I'd say, it's not like a deal breaker or anything, it's just kind of annoying because this will pull your hair absolutely when you're just wearing shorts. So maybe you want to wear pants when you use it, or maybe just you want to toughen up. It's not like that big of a deal. If I was like making a critique, it would be, man, some of these items I would actually prefer to be a more slick vinyl. The back pad's really nice because you can dial in, but there's a reason that a lot of the higher end companies don't use grippy on some of these parts. Now, a couple points of note for those that are into evidence-based training, basically the people that are looking at studies and basing their training upon the evidence they find therein. Two examples that really matter for this machine that you'll see often. One is the back pad. So for optimal gains, having an open hip angle is superior for max gains for the quads. So instead of being like hunched over like this, you want to be able to go back. So this back pad does have a lot of adjustment. Pull it all the way back. You can go there, and I'll just show you I'm 5'9" 3/4. This allows you to hang pretty far back. One thing I will say for Titan, one thing I would add in is instead of making this back pad fixed, I'd put a hinge joint here so then you would have full back support and really be able to lay back. I think that's something that would be useful for really either movement. It would feel good. But one thing of note that's pretty cool on this is you can pull this back pad forward without popping the pin. And then when you go back, it locks in. So if you want to go back, you pull it up. That's something we've seen on other companies. It just makes it so you can dial in exactly where you want to be very quickly. I will say on that note though, they don't put any adjustment numbers on any of the pieces. The back pad is maybe less important, but they're using these stainless steel covers right here, which is really nice because it prevents the powder coat from scratching. But there's just no numbers to identify where you're at. On this cam that you use to adjust from leg curls to leg extensions, just something minor, but it would be nice if they laser cut basically numbers or laser etch numbers for where you're at. Then two other things of note on like the evidence-based protocols. You want to be able to be as far back with this ankle roller as possible. This is basically where I'm at. If you look, there's more room for it to go back. I don't think they did a bad job with this. I think it has pretty good in comparison to many on the market. Like, it's got good enough stretch, but it would be nicer if this went even further back. One thing I will say is there's a couple companies out there that are making something that goes on the ankle roller. One of them I think is called Hustler Lifting. It just gives you a spacer so your legs can go even farther back. But if you're looking for a leg extension leg curl that has the max stretch, this isn't it embedded, but I think you could make it close to that, and it's pretty good for what it is. Then the other thing is when you go into the leg curl portion, you are easily able to get max stretch on this. So you're able to really feel it, especially if you pull your back pad forward, you're able to get a great stretch there. One other note, they're using a cam on this, okay? And this isn't just a circular cam. They've actually thought through this. This is the part of the machine I'm most impressed with. Here's why.
This video is brought to you by Element. I've been using Element for the past year or so. Element is an electrolyte sugar-free drink mix. Basically, it's salt, flavored salt that you put in your water. It tastes very good. They now have a bubbly version that tastes even better. Basically, it's a great option if you want to drink something other than sugary drinks. You want some benefits from electrolytes. Basically, the way I use Element is at the end of my day or midday when I'm starting to get tired. Basically, this is a good pick-me-up. Once I take this midday, I usually get out of the midday slump and then I'm able to keep working or training. But I've been using Element for over a year. I'm a huge fan, and they now sponsor the channel. If you'd like to get your own free sample pack with any Element drink purchase, you can check out the link below, like button, go through there. It has an exclusive offer for you where you can purchase them. Also, try these. These are very good. Whether you buy them or not is your choice. It's the choice of a new generation.
So many of the cams that you will find on a leg extension leg curl are just going to be a circular cam. For instance, I had one from Reflex not that long ago that was used, which is the company that Rogue bought. It was just a circular cam, which means it's like the resistance is pretty much the same all throughout. Now, one thing Titan calls out on their site is it has a very consistent resistance. Well, I don't really want a consistent resistance. I want it to be heaviest at the lengthened portion and lightest and taper off as I get to the end range. This has that, especially for the leg extension. So I'll show you how we tested that right now. We're gonna show basically what the tension is like at each point of the strength curve right here. So I've got this zeroed out. So you really, for maximum hypertrophy right now, the suggestion is in the most lengthened portion of the movement to have the highest tension. That's what matters the most. You want a deep stretch and you want the most tension there. So that means at the bottom right here, you want it to be heaviest. So I'm gonna show you, I've got it on 80 pounds right now in the stack, 80-pound fuel weight. It's zeroed out. So now as I pull, you'll start to see once it gets up to that tension level. So it's right there at 70. Now I'm just gonna consistently pull and you can see it drop off. And then as I come back in, so that's a very good thing. That means it's heaviest at the bottom. It's not gonna be a crazy drop off, but it's enough. And then I'll show you the opposite way. See, this one for the curl, it seems like it actually gets heavier as it goes in, which for max hypertrophy is not what you want, but maybe they're like, if we can pick one that we want to adjust it, maybe it's for leg extension. So you can feel it too. Like you can feel it when you're doing leg extension, it tapers off more. And then when you're doing ham curl, it bites in, it's harder. So not ideal on the ham curl, but I don't think it's a major issue. The leg extension though, it's nice. So as you saw, the leg extension portion, it tapers off really nicely. I wish they would call that out on their site. Surprising, that's actually a benefit. The seated leg curl is good, but it actually gets harder the further you go into the movement, where I would want it to be heaviest right here and lightest right here. So I just get basically a lot of tension at the top. It actually does the opposite, but for most people, I think it's gonna be fine. And then to the weight. All right, so I can do a Nordic curl. I think that gives you an idea for how strong a hamstring is. A lot of people can't do Nordic curls because they're very hard. So for me, on leg curls, seated leg curls, 190 or so, is pretty heavy. Also, like, because the tension builds, when you get to that end range of motion here, man, you kind of got to go lighter just so you can get further into the movement. But you can see how quickly you're able to change and adjust the piece. But man, when you get into that leg extension portion at 250 pounds, some of you, it's just gonna be too light. 250 pounds, 1-to-1 ratio, I think is gonna be good and comparable to many that are on the market. In fact, you see a lot of them that are gonna be 2-to-1, like I mentioned. But if you really are looking for more weight, you can just add like a gym pin on here. What if you took out the weight stack and put a plate loaded version? The reality is, this is very cheap. These are very cheap to add. Really what it adds to is the shipping cost. I don't think it would be that much cheaper, probably like 200, 300 bucks if they replace this with a plate loaded version. So it would be cool to offer, but then you're gonna have to change the entire dynamic of the machine because you're not gonna have room to put the plates on this side. Maybe they can go on the back side, but you also have to put them on the other side so it doesn't mess up the guide rails. So yeah, it would be cool if you had a plate loaded version that was like this. But honestly, right now, the best plate loaded versions are probably the one that are currently out there. So how does it compare to others that are on the market? Because this is not a cheap piece for a Titan piece. This is actually probably one of the more expensive products, 2,300 bucks, includes shipping, and does come in a massive wooden crate. So you're gonna have to put a lot of it together, although there are a lot of welded components. There's quite a bit that you have to bolt on as well and assemble. But in comparison to some others that are on the market, you have Sorenex, which is kind of like the one that a lot of people go to, but it's like 4,200 bucks. Plus a crazy amount of shipping. Honestly, like another world, I think, for most people. Then you have Bolt Fitness. They have their Storm series, which is around 2,500, 2,600. You have French Fitness, which theirs goes up and down in comparison to this one. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's a little bit less. And then you have another company that's come out recently, Temple of Gains, and theirs is a little bit less than this, around 2,200 bucks. Here's what I'd say. One, if you want a piece that's just gonna, like, you don't ever wanna upgrade, there's gonna be others coming out. I would probably just say wait, and then you compare all the different ones. We'll do some videos, so make sure you subscribe. But if you're wanting one now and you're not willing to spend on something like a Prime Fitness piece, this is the one I'd recommend. This is actually really dang good. I'm surprised how good this is. There's some minor stuff that I'd like to see improved, but generally as the machine sits, like, this is a really good release from Titan. I think they did a good job. And the price point, when you compare it to others that are on the market, it feels pretty good. Like, this is a piece that's gonna last a long time. Titan's also, I expect them to be around a while, so they'll be able to service it, all those sorts of things. This is the Titan leg extension leg curl Selectorized. Let me know what you think of it in the comments. Also, like, are you looking to add one of these? And what other companies do you wanna see them from? I'm excited to see others. This has been Coop from Garage and Reviews. I'll see you next time. Peace.